Imagine a shutdown. On the news, when the government closes, services stop, systems stall, and nothing works. Now bring that image inside your body. That's exactly what happens when the intestine enters an intestinal shutdown. The movements that should push food forward slow down or stop. Transit becomes too long, stool dries out, toxins linger, and you feel everything is stuck. The metaphor helps because it translates in concrete language what physiology describes as reduced motility, functional constipation, colonic inertia, or even ileus in more severe cases. Under normal conditions, the intestine moves thanks to coordinated contractions of smooth muscle called peristalsis, triggered and modulated by the enteric nervous system, by gastrointestinal reflexes, and by local hormones. When these public servants work in sync, the machine runs smoothly. When communication falters, when the budget is cut or stress is overwhelming, the gears lose rhythm. It's like an internal shutdown. The departments of digestion stop meeting deadlines, queues pile up, and deliveries are late. You perceive this as less frequent bowel movements, excessive straining, incomplete emptying, gas, bloating, and discomfort that worsens after meals. In more severe cases, nausea, loss of appetite, and malaise appear. Several forces can push the intestine into this shutdown. The first is chronic stress. When the brain perceives threat, it activates the fight or flight axis. Sympathetic tone rises. Parasympathetic tone, responsible for rest and digest, decreases, and motility tends to slow. Brain-gut communication, which is bidirectional, loses balance. Signals that normally accelerate peristalsis after meals, such as the gastrocolic reflex, become muted. Add to this a dietary pattern poor in fiber and rich in ultra-processed foods. The colon lacks raw material to form stool bulk, and the microbiota lacks substrates to produce short-chain fatty acids, essential to nourish the colon and modulate contractions. It's like cutting the budget of the most important department of the intestinal government. Another driver of shutdown is dysbiosis, an imbalance in the microbial communities of the gut. These bacteria aren't bystanders. They ferment fiber and generate compounds like butyrate, propionate, acetate that signal to enteroendocrine cells, influence serotonin release in the intestine, and modulate sensitivity and strength of contractions. When diversity falls and less beneficial strains dominate, the chemical conversation that maintains peristaltic rhythm deteriorates. It's as if the government's technical advisors disappeared and decisions worsened. Studies have linked constipation with altered microbiota and changes in serotonin transporters in the colon, reinforcing this biological plausibility. Medications can also precipitate a shutdown. Opioids reduce motility by acting directly on gut receptors. Anticholinergics and some antidepressants have similar effects. Chronic illnesses like diabetes through autonomic neuropathy, hypothyroidism, and neurodegenerative conditions disrupt circuits that command peristalsis. After abdominal surgery, a temporary ileus is common, a form of shutdown triggered by inflammation, pain, opioids, and surgical manipulation. Usually it resolves in days, but it illustrates how sensitive the intestine is. The body sends clear signals of a shutdown. The most objective is fewer than 3 bowel movements per week with hard, pellet-like stools and straining. But there are also subjective signs: a heavy stomach, trapped gas, a distended belly at the end of the day, cramping after meals, fatigue, and low mood. Over time, a sluggish intestine can affect metabolism, worsening insulin resistance, increasing systemic inflammation, weakening the intestinal barrier, allowing molecules to leak into circulation that trigger immune activation. A local shutdown becomes a broader crisis. If the metaphor clarifies the problem, it also illuminates the solution. Reopening the intestinal government requires combining measures that restore resources, staff, and coordination. The foundation is feeding the machine with enough fiber. Practical goals for adults are 25 to 35 grams per day. combining soluble fibers like oats, legumes, fruits, and insoluble fibers like vegetables and whole grains. Soluble fibers form a gel that softens stool. Insoluble ones add bulk and stimulate peristalsis mechanically. Alongside, generous hydration keeps colonic contents softer and easier to move. Without water, any plan stalls. The second axis is moving the body. Research shows that light to moderate physical activity, especially regular walking, helps to synchronize intestinal rhythms. It's intuitive physiology. External movement encourages internal movement. No drastic change is needed. 20 to 30 minutes most days is enough over weeks to reduce transit time and ease the feeling of shutdown. Breathing exercises and stretching also boost parasympathetic tone, a friend of digestion. The third pillar is caring for the microbiota. Probiotics with bifidobacterium and lactobacillus strains have reasonable evidence in functional constipation, improving stool frequency and consistency. They're not magic, but act as reinforcements, boosting metabolites that talk to enteroneurons and muscle cells. Fermented foods like yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut can add support. At the same time, it helps to reduce ultra-processed foods rich in emulsifiers and sweeteners that may irritate the mucosa or disturb the microbiota in sensitive individuals. The fourth component is taming stress. When the mental narrative is constant urgency, the sympathetic axis keeps a brake on the intestine. Practices like meditation, diaphragmatic breathing, mindful walking, cognitive therapy, and good sleep hygiene reduce adrenaline and cortisol release, allowing the parasympathetic system to resume coordination of peristalsis. It's like sitting down to negotiate and ending the shutdown. There are also medical tools, the emergency funding packages. Osmotic laxatives like polyethylene glycol increase water content in the intestine, soften stools, and are safe for longer-term use under medical guidance. In refractory cases, prokinetics like prucalopride, a 5-HT4 agonist, directly stimulate colonic motility and can normalize evacuations in some patients. These don't replace the behavioral foundation, but help to reopen the system while the base is rebuilt, always under professional supervision. To illustrate, take Anna, 42 years old, who lived in a cycle of intermittent shutdowns. 2 or 3 days without evacuation, cramping when it finally came, a sense of always being full. She had tried radical diets and irritating laxatives with only short relief and rebound effects. The turning point was a simple, gradual plan: adding oats and fruit to breakfast, legumes at lunch, more salads and vegetables, drinking water regularly, walking 25 minutes most days, and taking a probiotic for 3 months. She practiced breathing exercises before bed and reduced nighttime screen time to sleep better. Within 3 weeks, she noticed bowel urges returning after meals, a sign her gastrocolic reflex was re-engaging. Within 2 months, frequency stabilized. Her mood and energy improved. The shutdown ended not with a miracle, but with small, consistent acts. It's important to stress that not every shutdown is benign. Red flag symptoms demand urgent medical evaluation: severe or sudden pain, fever, persistent vomiting, blood and stool, marked distension, inability to pass gas, unexplained weight loss. These may indicate mechanical obstruction, pseudo-obstruction, megacolon, or other conditions beyond routine adjustment. In people with recent abdominal surgery, inflammatory bowel disease, neurological illness, or opioid use, vigilance is even more critical. Also, conditions like irritable bowel syndrome with constipation, IBS-C, combine sensory alterations, visceral hypersensitivity, with irregular motility and dysbiosis. In such cases, beyond the measures above, therapies like gut-directed hypnotherapy, biofeedback training for pelvic floor dyssynergia, and careful fiber adjustment, sometimes reducing fermentable FODMAPs for short periods, can form a personalized plan to exit the shutdown.
If the word shutdown sticks in your head each time the news mentions it, good. It's a powerful reminder. When life speeds up, we cut what seems expendable. Sleep, mindful chewing, cooking, walking. That's when the gut starts sending memos. Reduced motility, bloating, no urge to go. Reopening the intestinal government means returning to the basics, without drama. Real fiber, real water, real movement, real breathing. If needed, add a quality probiotic for a few weeks, and when prescribed, an osmotic or prokinetic to give traction. In the end, intestinal shutdown is a call for coordination. There's no single magic lever. It's a set of pieces which, when put back together, restore the system's logic. You may never see headlines about it, but your body will feel it. More regular bowel movements, less bloating, more predictable digestion, steadier mood, cleaner energy. It's your body's public administration back at work, without bureaucracy, without communication breakdowns, each department doing its part. So next time you hear shutdown on the radio or TV, use the word as a trigger for a quick inventory. How much fiber did I eat today? How much water did I drink? Did I walk outside? Did I breathe calmly for a few minutes? Can I simplify dinner and sleep earlier? Simple questions are like signed dispatches that release resources. Gradually, the machine starts running again. If this text helped you understand your body in a new way, share it with someone who always says, "My gut is stuck." And in the comments, honestly and in detail, tell us what most contributes to your intestinal shutdown, and what in practice has already helped you reopen the system. The best answers become a collective guide for those just starting this journey.
Did you enjoy the video? Subscribe to our channel, Health and Wellness for All, for more tips and information. See you soon.